Hello, gorgeous people. We are back again with our beautiful Mum Summit, Mothers United Moment. And next up, we have the gorgeous Matilda. I want to say Lerche, but I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I'm sure, Matilda, you'll correct me shortly. But we're looking at energy tools and practices to assist your child. And I really love this piece around the tools and working with children. And I know, Matilda, you work with a lot of mums and a lot of children. And Matilda is a dedicated healer and spiritual guide who helps children connect with their authentic nature, enabling them to thrive. And with years of experience and a deep understanding of children's energy systems, she works with families to align them with their highest well-being and soul's mission. As a founder of Divine Child Healing, she offers a certification program that empowers parents and professionals to awaken their innate healing abilities and become frequency leaders in their homes or workplaces. And through her compassionate guidance, Matilda is committed to supporting the holistic growth of children and their families. I love this. Welcome, Matilda.
Thank you, Marie. I feel so honored to be here. And I would say Lurchi is close enough. That is how most people pronounce it, English speakers. So yeah, I love being here. I'm so excited to share with all of you.
Oh, so beautiful. We had a beautiful speaker on earlier talking about indigo children, crystal children, rainbow children, and this piece around frequency. I was really tapping into that in my presentation before, but I love that you are bringing this more to understanding the child's developing energy systems and their gifts and their intuition. And I'm going to hand it over to you, and I look forward to chatting with you at the end with your beautiful wisdom. So please take it away.
Thank you so much, Mary. Yes, and how perfect it is that we have those two topics like following each other. So, as Mary said, I'm Matilda Lurchi, and I've been working with the parents, moms, dads, grandparents for many years now. And one of the reason I came to work with children and parents in this way was not straightforward. I'm not yet a parent myself. I might be in a few years, hope so. But what happened during my own upbringing, my own landing here at the earth plane was so clearly preparing me for this role to become a frequency leader, working with frequency, working with energy. I was a very sensitive child myself, landed in a spiritual family, yet also with a lot of density. And through my life, I chose to really immerse myself in all the human topics that we have, all the human themes we have that are really dense here at the earth plane. Entangle myself in all the illusions and really tried everything on, all those limiting beliefs. I was like trying them on and realizing that they did not fit me. They did not fit me. And in that process, I became sick, I became injured. I was actually in science. I am a biologist, and I even have a PhD in biology. But on that journey, I had a really powerful awakening 10 years ago, where I woke up to my own divine nature and my own energy flow in its perfected form. My energy was coming back online within my body just within a few days. I was very welcome because it was after half a year of really dark night of the soul, totally crumbling on my physical being. But within a few days, I was back actually accessing yogini skills from within I did not know I had. And that is what I see for the children landing at the earth plane now, and also in the past years. They come with a really high vibration, a really, you can say, complex energetic wiring, ready to take on some of these new ways of living on planet Earth. Also, in my work as a healer, I started out trying to help these parents make their children fit in by using these healing modalities, only to realize that that was not my job at all, because I didn't want to fit in, right? I didn't want to heal myself to be normal. I wanted to access my superpowers, my magnificent abilities, my abilities to use energy to create my reality, understand the nature of reality, this dream like reality we are in. So I opened up my gifts and my higher path to start assisting parents understanding their children. And I have some training myself with a very experienced healer in learning how to feel energy system. And that opened up widely. So in my work with parents and children, what I do is I tap in and tune in with that child and also the parents later on. And in that way, I can actually feel their settings. I can feel their perspective. I can feel their gifts, and I can feel what challenges they're facing. I can also feel what ancestral trauma or belief they might have bringing with them from the whole parent generation. And I know if you're into healing, it is a bit of intense sometimes to feel that you have your whole ancestral line carrying that with you on your back, and for the children it's the same, and sometimes even more intense, because it's like when they come with the even higher consciousness, it's felt even more clearly what is what is not resonating with them. If it's in their body and not resonating with them, they will feel it. So some of these beliefs and what is in the body is causing a lot of anxiety in these children, or causing them to not wanting to be in the body, wanting them to be something else, experience something else, escaping this earth body and reality a little bit. And what can we do to assist them? First of all, my approach is, and I know it's not everyone have the abilities to this, those I trained does, but the ability to tune in and feel their perspective. And from there, starting to understand how can we assist this specific child. Many of you as mothers and fathers come here wanting to wake up to the next layer. I think it was so beautiful. We had Carol earlier talking about how her son had awakened her, or the connection with her son. And that is what we see for so many. When the children come in with this higher vibration, the parents start to wake up too. As a mom, you carry this energy field within your body for 9 months for most people. And also, as Mary talked about before, sometimes shorter. But there comes this new energy in connecting with your body, bringing their perspective, their energy field in to be felt so clear within you, naturally upgrading your body, naturally upgrading your perspective to fit the higher levels of vibration that we are experiencing now. So many of the children that come in now, they have extraordinary abilities. They sense in a broader spectrum of vibrations, which means they can sense more. And I'm just briefly talking about this because I know for many they will say maybe your own parents, they don't understand why your children are so sensitive. It's because that there is this ability to sense more things. So your parents might not be able to sense the things that your children are sensing, and therefore they think this was just a normal experience, why the child has a complete overload of their system. I will not go so much into that, but just want to point that out because it's a very, very common theme. What I want to point out is some of the things that you can do to assist your child. First of all, many of the children coming in now, when they're closer to the higher vibration, unity, union is more natural to them, that duality. So they feel their senses, they sense this vibration more authentic to them. What does that mean? It means when you come in with that awareness and experience that everything is one, there is no right, wrong. There is like this neutrality that incorporates everything within it. It's also called love. You can also distinguish between the two, but it has this openness to it. So when you come into this world and learn, you have to be right. You don't want to be wrong. Wrong is bad. Right is what you want to be. You want to be successful. You don't want to be unsuccessful. You want to be on time. You don't want to be late. There are all those things where you have to be either or. That can feel really intense in a body that is connected with union or unity consciousness. So that can bring up a lot of anxiety here for many of the mothers. The child is like, maybe their child is not very, very, very fast in the morning, but there are also these parents that experience that their child is panicking with the feeling that they're not going to make it at a certain time, or make the connection with the boss, the bus or the train. They're like feeling so much anxiety coming up, the thing that you're either on time or not. When you're working in with this energy, you're always on divine timing. So that is what might feel right to this child. You also the experience of being either dead or alive. that is bringing up a lot of fear in some children, especially during COVID, where we had this connection of you can be responsible for someone else's sickness and passing, maybe your grandparents or whatever it was. There was a lot of intensity coming in to the energy body. So I think, so what I want to share with you as moms, there's a lot of judgment. Let's be honest. There's a lot of judgment around being a mom. Like, you have to do it right. You have to do it right. And there's certain things that are right, certain things that are wrong. A lot of monitoring. Are you doing it right? Self-monitoring. Am I doing it right? Am I doing the best I can? Let's just trust that we're always doing the best we can. But also allowing things to be perfect as they are, or just be. So really releasing that judgment within yourself, knowing that your child does not benefit from you judging yourself. The judgment frequency is not a very pleasant feeling and not in alignment with the unity. It's the either or, you're either right or wrong. So coming in and start forgiving yourself and all these points, and start seeing that neutrality is actually a perfect reality, perfect perspective to have. That it's okay, that everything is okay. And it doesn't mean that you don't have boundaries, because I hear that from someone like, oh, there's no right and wrong. How with children, it's like, it doesn't mean that you don't have your preference and say, I don't like that. But it just means that it's a different energy. You don't become wrong because you do something that someone else doesn't like. You just did something that they didn't like. And you can have your boundaries about what you prefer. But it's a different way of speaking energy into it. And that is what a lot of these children are very sensitive to, energy and feeling, okay, what is it actually that's being said here? There are some words coming out, but what is the vibration of it? There are also some children that are not very tapped in with the energy, and they come here to hold their own perspective and frequency through it all. Some of them might be some children that we label with diagnosis and say that they are not able to feel certain things. They are just not tuned in and with other people's emotions in the same way, because they're not meant to. They're meant to be tapped in with their own sense of love. So I want to share that, and I can't really see the timing here, Mary, so let me know at a point how far I am with this. Maybe I can show chat here. Yes. Yes. So really allowing yourself to come into this very neutral space. And I hear that from a lot of parents I work with, that it's so peaceful to enter that space, and you can really guide your children from there, but you don't react in the same way. It's like you don't have these strong overreaction in your nervous system to what other people are doing or what's happening. You can really maintain that sense of neutrality. And one way to come into that level of neutrality is actually to come in and appreciating your own experience all through your life, appreciating all those experiences that you thought you couldn't appreciate. So that is one path to it, because it's not something that happens in our mind that we are suddenly just being neutral. It is partially that we shift perspective, but we need it to come into our body. And that is when we become frequency leaders for these children. And that actually doesn't matter if you're a parent or you're a professional working with children. I'm sure many of you have that experience, that especially if you're interested in this topic, that you have a certain effect on children or other people, that maybe they're becoming more calm when you're around, maybe they're becoming more joyful when you're around. It's your frequency. You're bringing in that frequency that they can align to, because we are created as, you can say, we're an energy field, and we seek to resonate. So when a child feels you as the parent, they will seek to come in and meet you somewhere, or you will seek to come in and meet the child, depending on who's holding the frequency most stable. But when the child lands here on earth, they are often in their wholeness and completeness. And that being said, they're always whole and complete, just as you always are whole and complete. When I talk about being in their wholeness and completeness, I'm talking about being aware of it. When you move into the earth plane, you will also often be bombarded with, first of all, you have things in your body, like energetic memory from your ancestors in your body, and you might experience trauma yourself. And then there's a lot coming through the shared energy field, the collective energy field, that is imprinting, that is bringing these energies to you, these belief systems. So for the children to stay aligned with their wholeness and completeness, the knowing of it, it requires some assistance from the adults, because they can't forget it coming into this huge energy field, where a lot of things are going on, and they can easily adapt to just what is, because that's the mammalian response is to how can I fit in, how can I be safe in this group. And that is often learned through how can we have the same perspective as everyone else, how can I be like accepted and normal within the group. That's what I shared up through my upbringing. It was really a priority of mine to come in and be like everyone else. That was such an interesting dynamic happening. Like, I want to fit in, I want to be like everyone else. So really allowing yourself to go beyond the state of judging things as right and wrong, and coming into the great level of neutrality. And when you do that, it's also important to realize that there is truly no right and wrong. It's not something we make up in this moment and say life is easier if you believe this. When you come into this earth plane, you're giving everything value. It's like zeros and ones. What do you want to give this? Is this a yes, no, right, wrong? There are all these things happening, and you can also see it when you move around in different cultures. Different cultures have given different meanings to same things. For some it's right, for some it's wrong. And really seeing that, oh, I can really decondition myself and start seeing a life for what I choose to see, what feels authentic to me, and in that way become the frequency leader, teaching my children that it's okay, that you can really be you. You don't have to adapt to the belief systems that are. I also want to just briefly touch on, I know that some parents experience these gender issues. So I want to give my perspective on that just briefly, because I know I have a lot of parents coming in with that understanding union and unity consciousness. When we are in duality, there is masculine, feminine. There is the female body, the masculine body. Moving closer to one is these things melt together. So that is what I see for many children. They actually don't feel either or. It's an effect of moving into unity consciousness to feel that merging of the genders. And that being said, I love being a female. So, so I think for some of us, it's like we love playing in the energy of the goddess or the god, bringing those energies in. As I see it, it's also we need to balance it within ourselves to pass these balanced codes on to the next generations. So their choice of whatever they are is based on a balanced perspective, and not from the avoidance of I don't want to be a male, so I'm female. Don't want to be a female, so I'm a male, to avoid certain things, but being in the wholeness, being in the unity. Yes. Okay. So one of the last thing I want to touch on before tools I want to bring in before I invite you and Mary to ask questions, or whoever wants to ask questions. So one of the things we're also invited to see is all the collective norms. So I just touched upon this, but really going more into depth with this one. What we learned at the earth plane is there's certain behaviors that are that are compassionate, that are sensitive to others. How can we maintain this level of as frequency leader? How can we also teach our children to become frequency leaders themselves, allowing their own authentic frequency, instead of going over into other people's frequency to please them, to fit in to whatever it is. One of the example my guide uses very often is the one about that here we learn that when someone is sad, you have to be sad too. That is the right thing. Or it's not right to be in joy if other people are sad. I just talked to Marie before this about the thing about being pleasure, having pleasure if you are in pain. These things we learn that something is wrong, that we should not do this if this other condition is present, then it's right to stick to this one. But we are creators of our reality, so we can, from that empowered perspective of pleasure, of enjoyment, we can assist others through that. We can invite them into that vibration instead. So giving the example of, you cannot be sick enough to make another one healthy. You cannot make yourself sick enough to save someone else's life. You simply need to allow, with your health, your undeniable health, your vibrant health, to help others to align with your frequency or be in joy, so they can feel that energy and align themselves to that. One thing is that sometimes people will get triggered by it. If they see you and feel that is not obtainable for me, they might get triggered by it. And I think that's a part of where we have started this whole cycle of, I need to be sad too. If you're sad, then we need to go over there. But with children, they often have this innate mechanism of playing when things are sad, or they might really not want to focus on the sadness. That is their innate mechanism to keep their high vibration. I remember I have some really amazing nephew and nieces, and my nephew had brain cancer when he was 5 years old and had a brain tumor. And just after the surgery, I went in and asked him, "How are you doing?" And he was like, "I'm fine." Oh my God, he did not look like he was fine. But really, that was his perspective on it. I'm fine. He was not judging it. But I could also have said to him, "Oh, wow, you're not fine. Let me just help you to get this straight and see how much in pain you actually are." But instead, I just accepted it and allowed him to be fine and allowed him to have a great day and supported his perspective on that. And I think that's really, really an important thing. Oh, yay. I love to see you all here. Let me know if you have any questions.
That's a beautiful story you shared with your nephew, and this perception that we as adults have on children that are just so attuned to their energy and their perception of life. Like, they just are deeply present with things, and the stories that we've been ingrained in thinking, they just actually don't think that way. And how beautiful and refreshing, and that reminder of that essence of just, noticing what they're feeling, their bodies, what they're going through. I suppose the work that you do, Matilda, in working with families and children and noticing the energetics and the frequency and the shift in that, the gifts that are coming online for kids that are feeling the energies, that are intuitive, that actually have gifts of like the all the different clairs, the psychic gifts, the feeling things. I suppose, with your advice, how do you help families with kids that are super gifted in the sixth senses, and help them manage, their psychic gifts? So if they can see energies or see the other realms of things, and helping them feel safe, and helping parents navigate how they can then discern when to turn it on and when they can turn things off energetically.
Yes. So I would say it's really up for it's a really like a strong invitation for the parent to become really embodied. The moment these psychic abilities becomes unsafe, in my experience, is then when we are out of the body, not feeling safe in the body. When we can really come into the body and feel safe, that is when we can more navigate this. But a lot of the children have this high vibration, so it takes some time for them, or some conscious focusing into the body. So I always say to parents that the greatest gift you can give to your child is to become really, really loving of your own body, become very present and very embodied, because that is like a beacon of light you send out to them, saying it's safe to be here, it's safe to be in this body, you can bring everything you are here, you can bring all your clairs. So my invitation would also be, or my suggestion would be, to be curious around it, but not to give too much power to it, because they're here learning from you how it is to be in a body and navigating, having senses, because we don't have that at a soul level. So also understanding that they can like distort the energy, or the how we see, so it can become scary, but understanding that that is our like twisting of the energy when we run it through the human system. So really for the parents, I would say to become fearless in this themselves, really comfortable with all these energies. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working with Matilda this time with the Divine Healing program, and I'm getting there, Matilda. But this advice, even last time when I was speaking to you about get into your body, is a very strong one. Very tough to do
Mm.
when situations are a little not the way you want them to be.
Mm.
But my question is that it's also sometimes gets very scary to come back to your body and to just see all the feelings that are going through, because it's always better to just at the situation which is out of control, to get out there, into your thoughts, and trying to save it, trying to protect the situation, trying to correct it with all the thoughts that are going on. But when you come back to your body, it sometimes feels um, odd to just witness the vibration going through, and I'm like, oh my god, I just have to become a witness, and just watch it and not do anything about it, but be present and to stay there, whether it's a child or any other situation, like as a mother or whatever, just to stay there and to witness the ripples inside, and to just say, it'll pass, it'll get through, it'll be okay, it'll be fine. uh, how, the question was very silly. It was about how long one can do that, but how does
Yes, but I love that question though.
I step out of it after a minute
Yeah,
sometimes, and
yeah,
I see myself coming back, and I'm just like, get out, get out, get out, because it is too much to handle, and just fix what's happening, because you're being silly trying to just sit there and become a witness, right? And
mm,
the longer you stay in it, the more practice you will get. But I think my practice level is in a situation with my son sometimes is just a minute, minute and a half. Then I come out, then I go back again and remind myself, when I come back and go here, because fixing what's happening is the first thing that we've learned when things
yes,
are out of control.
yeah,
What do you have to say about
a
this
lot.
period
I love that because it's
and
so
vibration in you?
important.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm just being honest, because I'm a mom of a very young
yeah,
child who I sometimes struggle with trying to, because my older one was totally different. My younger one is totally
yeah.
different. I'm just,
I have three things. The first that comes up is we need to be back in the body to in order to digest. It's like when you're out, there can be a lot of emotion coming up, but the body cannot process it if we're not home. They're just laying there waiting, like. But when we come home, the body can digest, come into balance. Second, we had the perfect example of this yesterday from one of the students in the Divine Child Healers program that one of those, Shika, and she said her daughter's now 18, but her daughter had said to her now, Mom, all the time you told us just to be happy when there was something. I mean, we could see on you, you were not there yourself, so you could not tell us that. You didn't know how it was to be happy because her children had anxiety or had some things coming up. It's like, you told us that, but we could see and we could feel that you were not there yourself. So how could you say that? How could you like tell us that? We know that was such a made up thing, like escaping. So many of the children are that awake and they will call you out in that way and say, oh, but I see you're not embodying this yourself. So how can I trust what you're saying? I need to feel it. And that's was also what she shared later. The thing about like now when she's feeling it, her daughters can lean in. But when we're in this like just escape it or whatever it is, just trying to teach them something, we don't feel ourselves. And the last thing I want to say to that, Shika, is the vibration we're in is what we're creating the next moment from. So we really need to prioritize to come back. And that's something I work with the mothers that I help a lot, because if you're constantly in the doing mode, fixing, trying to prevent something from happening, or you're constantly creating new moments with that energy. And you need to come back and say, doesn't matter, everything is messy now. What do I want to create? And then feel that within you. Because it's kind of a trap, the other one, right? That you keep seeing clothes on the floor, things are messed up, and you just run around trying to like manage it and keep creating more. more mess and
Yeah,
complex.
I know we've got off time, but it's a very important topic, and because we are for mothers, and sometimes we will make reels out of it. A very, very important topic is what happens is, Matilda, that as a mother, like you're this in this whole vibration of, I mean, I don't fix mess. I don't even go there. But because probably as a child, I was not paying attention to the fact that I'm sensitive to vibrations. When as mother, as an adult, when I'm sitting there and I can feel my child going off into vibrations that are not fixing, and I'm sensitive to that, and many mothers are sensitive to try and fix that, rather than trying to fix the mess or outside. They're still okay with all the outside mess. Probably the timings are off, you're not on time. But when you're aware of probably what happened to you when you didn't pay attention as a child, and all that just gets mixed up, and then your child is off, emotionally not regulated,
Mm.
you're trying to fix that emotional regulation by saying, okay, don't go there. And the learning, I'm still getting there, but the learning to the fact that mothers can just sit and watch their emotionally not regulated children and then watch them do it themselves is a is a process and a practice, that they will naturally regulate themselves. But how long do you sit like this and just say, come back to your body and let them emotionally regulate themselves? That just takes too long sometimes to see the
You told me, Shika. You told me how long it takes. I think what it is the invitation is to become the frequency leader. What do you want your child to
I
feel?
love that.
And then you go that in there and feel that emotion. And sometimes you don't see it manifest right away, but it's an invitation, and that's all you can do really, because they have
Exactly.
their own experience. They
Yeah.
are their own masters, and of course you help them if they're about to fall off the cliff. But really just allow that to be like, this is what you can choose, child.
Yeah,
This
I
is
love that.
that vibration. Yes.
I love that. I think it'll help many mothers if they can learn to just sit and say, the way will settle down. Even teachers, as teachers, I mean, they both are teachers of young children, just to watch them and say, it'll calm down. It's a wave going up. It's going to calm down. You don't have to interfere so much. Only make sure that they're physically in a safe space. And
Yeah.
so yeah, thanks for sharing that. To coming into body, and I get out of it within a minute. A minute is the maximum. I can stay in my vibration and come back to my body, and then I'm like, I have to fix this now. Like this has to be fixed. What is this going on? You just like get out of it, and so it's a lot of practice. So thank you for bringing that to the world, Matilda. It's beautiful.
You're welcome. It definitely is a
I've
practice.
loved I've loved listening to this conversation because as someone that like my kids are older and out of home, but the reflections of what I've done and it's like, oh yeah, I've done that and but then also seeing those moments where I have had those conscious conversations and allowed them to work things out and it's like, okay, I can see that my growth was there even before I knew it was there, which was really beautiful to reflect on. But as a teacher too, being able to like have those conversations now and that awareness of when it has happened in the classroom. I've had a beautiful young boy that was like, oh, what do you know about quantum physics, miss? Like, do you believe this and that and these conversations? And it was like, this is grade 5. I'm like, I don't remember having conversations about things like this when I was 5. It was like Barbie 100%, and like that was my reality, was anything that wasn't the 3D. And this quantum conversation and just the curiosity. Like I take a crystal pendulum in, and the kids are just fascinated by the energy talk and knowing that there is a truth in what is said. Like they test it, they try it, and they push the boundaries. I had one little student that kept going, asking, "Am I allowed to play the iPad?" And he came up and he rephrased the question 7 times to try and trick the crystal into saying yes, he could play the iPad. And it's like, it really does work because I know I'm not allowed to play, but I've tried it so many different ways, and he's telling the kids, it's like, this is so real. And it's like, it is because that belief and that energy and the vibration of allowing them the honesty in the conversation. And it was that reflection. It's like, you can test it. You don't have to believe. You don't have to, it's up to you. This is a vibration. And they tested with the energies of being around me and, oh, hang on a sec, that was a no. And it's like, well, let's look at the question clearly. And that questioning that got to happen, because it was like, what else could you have been thinking about? A lot of the time they say, oh, which is my favorite pet? And it's like, or is this my favorite pet or something like that? And it's like, well, hang on a sec. Do you have multiple pets? Is that pet attached to another parent or another sibling a little bit more than you? Like, think about your questioning and the way that you question it. And it so opens up a lot more value and belief in themselves, because then they start to go, oh, well, if this is true, this also can be true. And I love that you've been mentioning this, like, there's nothing wrong with these beliefs. There is no wrong in it, as long as we allow the questioning to happen, and it's both ways. So it's been really beautiful to listen in and see it from a different perspective, not as the mum, but as that sort of outsider, like looking in, but still in the mother role in that teaching industry. It's so beautiful.
It is very fascinating.
And so, Matilda, how can people connect with you?
They can connect with me through my website, awakenwithmatilda.com. And I also have a small booklet that I have as a freebie about the superpowers and challenges of the New Earth children, because I think that's really important that we start looking into that more and understand it, that there are things happening, as Flea just said. It's happening everywhere, because it's the truth of them and it's the truth of us. So awakenwithmatilda.com is my website, and feel free, anyone, to email me if you have any further questions.
Yeah.
We were just waiting on the beautiful Zamasa to join us. I think we've had a little bit of tech glitches again, because we are meant to be going straight into a panel discussion now. So we might just take a short break and come back in a minute.
Yeah. All right, there we are.
Oh, I'm so excited to be back again. Yay, we've just had a few technical glitches, but we are here for our last panel for day one, and it is about reclaiming your energy, balancing the physical, emotional, and mental well-being. And I'm sure we will also talk about the spiritual essence as well, encapsulating all of this beautiful wisdom with our energy. And I feel like it has been such a beautiful flow from sharing my insights with my journey and the energetics of the feminine wisdom, and then hearing Matilda talk about the energy and the frequency when assisting our young people and our children as they're growing and developing. And we've just had such beautiful threads throughout the whole day in talking about our stories and celebrating our beautiful journeys, whether it's been hardships, whether it's been joys, whether it's been just really insightful, interesting, or embodied conversations. And it's been really powerful to have everyone here. And we're so excited to have our next beautiful new addition to this panel, beautiful Samasa, who is a Gen X single mom. And she balances her parents' traditional values with her millennial daughter's expectations while exploring her purpose in life. She empowers independent, fierce women to honor their values and discover their God given purpose, fostering societal change and personal growth. We also have Matilda joining us again. And Flea, do you want to share just a little recap if there's anybody new joining us with beautiful Matilda?
Sorry, I just missed that bit.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to get you to do Matilda's bio, but I've got it right here.
Oh,
And for those
no,
that are new tuning in, have you got it there, Flea? Beautiful. Go for it.
yeah, I do have it right on my screen. I do. Yes, Matilda is a beautiful healer and a spiritual guide. Helps children's and families align with their authentic nature and well-being through energy practices, which we love. The years of experience, she also leads the Divine Child Healers Program, empowering parents and professionals to become frequency leaders and tap into their innate healing abilities. I just love this. I love this energy and the way that we get to be, and this understanding has opened my mind so much. So I'm just really enthusiastic about this type of conversation and where this is going to lead.
So powerful. And we also have the gorgeous Shika joining us, your three co-hosts for this beautiful summit. And we've introduced ourselves many times today, but it has been so powerful to weave magic with beautiful Shika and Flea, with Awæcnian Academy and Mothers United Moment with Shika and all of these amazing mothers. And this piece around energy, and I said this in my keynote, that, you know, energy, everything is energy, and energy is everything, and our emotions are energy in motion. And this piece around understanding how we can come back into our senses, which we just spoke about with Matilda, and noticing those sensory experiences and role modeling that and embodying that for self, and being able to combine mind, body, spirit together to, I suppose, shift into this new way of being. So I'm just going to open the floor up with this beautiful topic around energy and our tools, and just share a bit more of that insight. I know, Matilda, we kind of finished a little bit earlier, but yeah, I'd love for you to just continue and add more, I suppose, in understanding energy and frequency. And as women who are mothers, or you're working with mothers, how important it is to understand and reframe and utilize our bodies, our tools, to amplify and step into our power. Oh, I think you're on mute, Matilda.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. I love that. So, as I'm not a mother myself, but have been working with so many mothers, and I've been so close with my sister and her four babies. So, I've been really really diving into this mother template myself in my connection with everyone in this process. And what I see is that what we learn is often that we need to give to others before ourselves, right? As women, maybe just as women, it's like there is this ingrained belief that we need to like give our let our cup be given to others instead of allowing us our own cup to overflow and from there give. So I've seen this very much within myself as well, allowing this rewiring to come back and realize I cannot give to others what I don't have myself. So really my own body, my vessel is my primary responsibility, that this is as high vibrating as possible so I can create the most fun reality for myself and others. And what I also shared before is like we go in and we can, when we connect with others, we seek to align in vibration, right? We seek to resonate. So really also allowing ourselves to be surrounded by people who support us, who can support that higher vibration. So that is one of the things I want to share. And I also want to share that when we are allowing our own well-being, we are truly allowing others their well-being too. So I know this might be a little long example, but I'm just continuing from what I shared before. I know you love that, sharing with my own nephew having cancer. That is also one of the reasons why I've been so close with all my little nephew and nieces. And in that process, had already gone through my own awakening, was vibrating high. If I hadn't, this would have been a completely different story. But my sister was saying that he could be lying in bed on the hospital all day and not feeling well. In the moment I stepped in the door, it would take 3 minutes. He would sit up in bed and crack jokes and laugh because the vibration was helping him to remind him of his own innate well-being that he could access. He was aligning to that vibration. So I want to put that in there as an example. And I hope that makes sense in context what you want to discuss further in this conversation.
It's beautiful. And I suppose in working with like children and families, and that, like, you spoke about this place of giving more than what we have. What's one thing that you do for yourself to reclaim your energy, that's just for Matilda to go, this is my thing I do, and this like anchors me and balances me?
I focus very much on pleasure, as you were talking about before, Mary, about the body work. And I'm also really honest with when I'm with my nephew and nieces, what I'm willing to be a part of and not, because they have many ideas. And we can like sometimes say yes to go into a play or going to do something for them that we might not have the energy for. And so I'm really honest, and they really honor that, actually, because they know there is no like, they can push me in any direction, and if I'm a yes, I'm a yes, if I'm a no, then I'm a no. So I would say being really honest with what feels fun to me and what doesn't feel fun to me, and express that clearly.
I'll just take with Zamasa, knowing her a little, now being part of the book. Thank you, Matilda. I just keep listening to you and I just get lost anyway. But Zamasa is here from South Africa, and she brings a lot of new perspective from a country, that we still need to know a little bit more about. So it would be awesome to even dive in, Zamasa, from the energetic point of view of what you've carried as a child, and then what you have broken through in a country where it, for being a single mom, was a tough thing. Even like her picture in the book is, she's on a bike, which is a very big thing in her community, to be on a bike, a woman on a bike going, everywhere. So it would be a great thing, and a little more perspective towards coming from a country from. So just maybe in the best possible shortest way, you can talk about your energy shifting from the child from a very traditional family, still staying with your mother, and then becoming a mother, and then moving out into your own essence, and now inspiring many women in South Africa to step into theirs. So what was that whole energetic journey like, and how do you feel about it today? Would be a great thing for many also hearing from story perspective, because we also need to weave some stories in. So that, I think that's what we should discuss with Damasa.
Thanks, Shika. Yes, I come from South Africa, a country laden with customs. We carry so much burden as women in this country. We actually have a saying that goes, "Wathinta abafazi, wathinta imbokodo." You touch a woman, you're touching a stone. And that on its own is very telling that women are supposed to absorb everything that comes their way, and we're not supposed to be breakable at all. And coming from my mom's generation, where women were only seen and not heard, though those customs were also carried through. I once shared with Shika a story about a time when I was only 12 years old. My mom and I had walked into a retail store. She looked at a pair of pants and she said something positive about those pants. And I was going, but why can't you buy them for himself? And it had never ever crossed her mind in her wildest dreams that she's allowed to do these things. And this is how mentally stifled some women are in my country based on these customs. No one had ever said to her, no, you cannot. But somehow it just was not a done thing until I asked her. And from that day on, this is from 1991. From that day on, my mom has enjoyed the flexibility of wearing what she wants, when she wants, how she wants. And this is just pants, ladies. Can you imagine a whole lot of other things that we feel as women in South Africa are not allowed to do? Shika mentioned that I'm a biker as well. Again, I don't know a single black mother in South Africa that rides a motorbike. And the question from someone else who doesn't stay here is, why not? It's just not a done thing. And this is why I started coming to this space of becoming a coach, where I need to impart with women the fact that it's okay to be who you're meant to be. It's okay to do what you want to do. As long as you're not harming yourself, you're not harming anyone else, why not? And as a mother, this is the lesson and the voice that I'd like to bring out of my own little girls. I've got two girls, daughters, and I do not want them to carry the burden. I do not want them to see themselves as stones. They are not stones. They are allowed to cry. They're allowed to feel. They're allowed to be as strong as they want to be and to be as weak and vulnerable as they feel oftentimes. And it's okay. Matilda mentioned something very important just now. She said, when we, the way that we are being gives the next person the right as well to feel enlightened, to feel that it's okay to be who they want to be. We're giving each other the space. I'd like to quote or refer everyone to the poem by Marianne Williamson, the one on our deepest fear. Can you imagine our deepest fear being that we are possibly greater than we can ever imagine? How can that be fearful? Wouldn't we want to reach out to our greater selves to be the better versions of who we're supposed to be? And unfortunately, as I mentioned before, in a country such as mine, there are so many customs that stifle people's thinking, all these limiting beliefs, and there is a way out. And this is the voice and the message that I want to carry through to all the ladies today. That we don't have to stay stuck in your old ways. There is something to be learned from the past. The past is not to be neglected and forgotten. There is something to be learned. There's a lot of wisdom in history, but then there's you, just the individual person, and who you're being, who you want to be, and the legacy that you want to leave behind. Let me pause there.
So powerful. So powerful. And it's beautiful, these threads, Zamasa, because in the keynote that I shared, which was too powerful for Facebook, kicked me out. But I spoke about like leaning into the thing that was the most fearful, and I shared just briefly here in this space now, like I shared about my miscarriages and these taboo subjects that we as women in society in general are too scared to talk about, and to meet myself in my deepest darkest fear, and to meet my body in a place that actually gave me a sense of empowerment to not only change my own story and narrative genetically, and energetically as well. But it was for my mother, for my mother's mothers, for all of the lineage of in the past and for the future. So my daughter, who is 8, can experience her body and the wisdom to her fullest through her emotions by seeing me in my most vulnerable states and allowing that surrendering process to feel all the feelings with that sense of both softening and strength, and me reframing how I speak about that, how I feel it, how I talk to her about it, how I talk to my husband about it, how I even talk to my own mother about my boundaries, about my experience, and encouraging through that storytelling, through platforms like this, that we can reframe and we can re-energize those threads and the trauma and the curses and the taboo things and the negative mindset that has been ingrained in our feminine energetics, so that the future generations don't have to walk those paths that we did, that our mothers did, that our mothers' did, in pain, in suffering, in being silent, in being made felt small. And this piece about escapism that Matilda brought in last time, and Shika, you were saying like about this embodiment, how do we stay in it? And you want to kind of escape and come back when the frequency is shifting. Sometimes your body just actually forces you to be in it, and your cycle. And when we embrace the feminine cycle and the flow within your own body, then it becomes easier for us to embody with relationship with others. So I suppose in reclaiming our energy, I just wanted to add to what Zamasa and what Matilda have shared in that. And I know Flea, this piece around energy, we talk a lot about in the cycles and the shedding. I'd love to hear your insights on this reclamation in your journey.
Can I just add
There's
something? You know,
Yeah, go ahead.
in this side of the world, it's now about 11 a.m. So I've already been in the office dressed like this. This is our traditional attire. I'm a finance manager in the office. I had a meeting. So now I'm bringing new energy into that space as well, because now there's also expectations of how you're supposed to conduct yourself, how you're supposed to look like. So traditional women are supposed to be kept at home in the kitchen. You know the story. It's a very patriarchal society that we live in South Africa. So here I am dressed like I am dressed, commanding my space with male colleagues, senior managers, and bringing this energy into that front. Something that is very new in our office spaces, but which we need to be able to be comfortable with going forward. You know, the way I'm dressed is very respectful, very presentable. I could see clients in this manner, but I should not be seen as to have lowered myself if I look like this in an office environment. This is something that we need to get used to again, in all our circles. I'm sure in India there's going to be a traditional way of dressing as a woman in another country, and this does not make you less than the next person. And this is something that we women need to be on the forefront of driving this feminine energy that is not apologetic about who we are and we are being at each stage of our lives. Now, wouldn't you want to be met with an empathetic and soft person at work or as a client when you're coming in to receive a service? Why should we be stern and very masculine in all our areas? There is a time and place for everything, even bringing this feminine energy into the workplace. So that's just something I needed to share, that we are literally breaking boundaries and rebuilding new ones in terms of how we treat us into society as well as in the workspaces.
it was actually part of the topic that got me thinking when I was listening to everyone's shares. A lot of the energy work that I do really deals deep down in with that core identity, and a lot of the discussions of coming back and reclaiming that identity that I've had with Marie and with other people actually starts very, very early on. Like I spoke about earlier on today, that like that labeling of gutter trash, because I was never in a stable home. My parents didn't have a very accepted background. They very alternative lifestyle. So with that, that carried me everywhere I went. I was always the new girl. I was always the person having to fit in. And it started with my clothing. And what I noticed the most was in schools, I couldn't identify my friends. I couldn't identify the people that were like me, that didn't have the new stuff, that, you know, didn't have stable homes. And that was detrimental to my energy. Because what happened was I'd form friend groups because everyone here wears a uniform and we all conform to the same rules. There's, you know, maybe slight differences with your hair as a girl, but really it came down to the brand name things that you had, like whether or not you had decent shoes or backpacks and things like that. And for me, I didn't understand the difference between like a second-hand item and a brand new item until I started to think I could fit into these friend groups where I was really completely different. And that energy, that separation of self happened really early on because it was, I don't belong. I have to have these things to belong. I have to pretend I have these things to belong. And that causes a stagnancy that for the longest time, like the identity, what I see, and I've done Shika's course, you know, claiming the identity, I can see myself. I could paint myself blind. I know the features of my face, but the reflection I see doesn't reflect the energy inside me, because that has been layered upon layer of expectation. The teacher, the uncomfortable clothing of having to cover up and having to wear clothing that just suits a standard. These things stopped me being the creative person that I am. I'm very flamboyant and my energy is, give me sparkles any day. I want to be in a costume and playing around. That's where I feel free. But yet I'm in these corporate worlds where we don't get to share that flair. It's like coming in clothing that has sparkles or something. You'd be shamed. It's like, oh, it's a bit over the top. It's too much. Tone it down a little bit. You don't want to draw attention to yourself. And all of these statements that belittle the feminine energy inside, which is to be creative. And reclaiming that, like as Marie knows, it's actually through her Monarchy project and through courses like Shika's that have helped me to reshape that, because I've had to completely abandon everything because my identity started so young as someone false, someone pretending. And when I shed all of that and went through the healing process, I was left with a shell and all I could do was just cry. And that's how you reground it, is to have someone hold you in that, find that safe person. And for me, it was my coach, my lovely mentor over that side, I think it is because it's mirrored. But, you know, having that challenge, like just speak it out, like what else could it be? To question it, to sit with, let's look at another way. Let's bring that back out. And this reclaiming our energy in our identity, what brought me to this was my 15-year-old deciding that living with mum wasn't suitable anymore. Living with dad was much more accommodating for her lifestyle. And it crushed me because she happened to do that on Mother's Day. She let me in on that conversation. So as my 18-year-old was preparing to move out, my youngest had just decided, no, it's better to live with dad. And the no contact, the deciding not to want to come weekends and not to share any time with me, it's been challenging to sit with that energy and to pull it back into this, well, who am I if I'm not her mum? Who am I if I'm not caring for her? What do I do when I go to the shops and I don't have my companion anymore? Because I did rely on their energy a lot more than they ever actually knew, a lot more than I knew. And that was because that role was the first one that I had claimed as mine, the role of the mother, the role of the carer. I can do this. This is where I sit well. I can care for other people. What do you do when you don't have anyone else to care for? You've got to reclaim yourself. And I've gone way too long, so I will open it up to, like, how do we, because I'm still learning, how do we re-find ourselves when everything we've been has been for other people?
I have, I mean, I have some things that just came to me, and I would like to share that. And you'll hear some pianos being, we have piano playing behind. They're just, that's their way of saying, just stop it. You've been on it since morning at 4 o'clock. So it's, if you hear it behind, it's my children telling me that come out. But, you know, when I, traditional dresses, Zamasa was talking about, and Flea was talking about dressing up in shine. Zamasa was talking about dressing in a certain way. Being a photographer, one of the first probably women photographers of this country, about 25 years back, I loved my traditional outfits. Not because of anything. I think I look really gorgeous in my traditional Indian outfit. And photographers have this image, I'm just going back to the image, and how do you reclaim your energy. And so photographers have this image of all black tattoos. I don't like tattoos, and I'm not all black wearing person. I used to wear very colorful, my earrings and my dupattas and my Indian thing. So for some time I was trying to show up as somebody else, as this person, so that I can get accepted in the world of mothers and people can look at me. Then one fine day I went back into my traditional outfit, because I was like, that's it. I'm going to show up as a baby photographer in my traditional outfit. You can imagine the doors opening of a client who never met me, with the look on their face saying, can she really be a baby photographer? Can she really take the pictures? Like, she is so traditional. She is so, dressed up in her this thing. I don't think she can. So, the way I dealt with it was that I changed so much energy around me that they had no other option but to keep opening the door. And I just walked in with my camera bags and my assistants, wearing my earrings and my traditional outfit, and then entering in my full authentic self. And at that time, there was so much doubt and everything. And then the energies merged, and then I became a photographer, still wearing traditional outfits, still showing up in my authentic self. And that energy merging gave them the confidence that I can do this. So when you reclaim, like, what you're wearing after a point doesn't matter, traditional, not traditional wearing. It's when you wear your energy the way you need to wear it, and then show up in that, and step up in that outfit of your energy. I think things start to merge, whether it's with your children. I still struggle, and I honestly, try to do that with my children, but dynamics change when it's your own child. But walking in society after a point in your authentic self, which is what the self portrait method is all about, that reclaim it your way, right? I like my traditional outfit, but that doesn't define me with my modernity towards being one of the youngest Indian baby photographer. I'm not meant to wear colorful clothes and come with balloons to children to tell you that I'm a great baby photographer, because I talk to children with their eyes. I bend down, I give them respect. I talk eye to eye last 25 years. And there have been episodes where children have told me to leave because the mothers have over prepared them. There's a photographer coming, photographer coming. And I've sat down at the door and then invited by them back in, and then told after 3 hours, they're telling me, don't leave. So the reclaiming of the energy is such an internal work that happens, and based on outfits, not outfits, external. I feel that if we all can understand it, and I have lost a bit of it with my children for sure. I'm trying to reclaim it back, and whatever. That's why I'm in the Divine Child Healing Program in Matilda, because I thought I knew it all when I work with children, and I can get in and I can just do the magic, and the children start loving me. And then sometimes I'm like on my knees sitting here, and I'm like, how will I deal with this? Like, I didn't know what I'm dealing with. So with the master's traditional, I come from a very traditional background, but I love my traditional outfit and I love my traditional stuff so much. But it doesn't stop me to be modern, walking in my energy and still creating my authentic self. And I am the quiet one in the crowd. It doesn't look like it because I'm a lot on online. But in the crowd, you will always see me 10 steps back, because that's where I feel comfortable in. So either way, whether we are shiny, we are comfortable, we are going back, or we're going forward, reclaiming our energy where we feel energetic and complete and whole is where, if we can reach, I think we can do so much more work around on this planet than any other way. So that's what the self-portrait process is all about, to just reclaiming it and then just going off the cliff sometimes with the children, but then coming back to it and asking for help from people like Mitadla and other people to say, I'm going off the cliff. So Zimasa, thank you for sharing that whole thing, and Flea and Marie, for just getting in your perspective with what Matilda you were talking about energetics. And Matilda can help us next maybe with how do you find these four perspectives of tradition and clothes and reclaiming and pulling back and showing up. There's so much energy maneuvering in that. And then maybe then Zimasa can add after that with what she hears.
Wow, Shika, and wow, everyone. I just want to point out we are from four different places in the world, like South Africa, Denmark, and Scandinavia, India, and Australia. And I can here we're just experiencing so different reality, yet still it's around the same, right? Reclaiming our true selves, and how we have been conditioned has been different. But I feel like it's a whole study, this, to listen to all of you, how we have chosen to adapt, and also when we're feeling this sense of I want to come back to my true nature. So for me, unlike Flea, we don't have uniforms. We can show up in our fur jacket, pink fur jackets, and silly boots, or however it is, from kindergarten. And so that is really self-expression, where I see that we in this part of the world really like tone ourselves down and mold ourselves into this odd shape, is that we also, what Simasa also was talking about, it's a bit like coming into the masculine. Like if you want to work, you come into the masculine energy. And I would say in Denmark, also for mothers at home, having control of everything, being so much in the mind, that the women get so sick. Actually, there are so many health issues for women in this country that's centered around an overly controlling lifestyle. It's like being so fearful, or trying to control everything so it won't go wrong, and being unable to determine when is something important and when is it nothing, so not important. So everything becomes super super important, right? From these little things, what's in the lunchbox, to whatever. And it's like, oh, we need to come back to the feminine self, as you all talked about also, because that is where we thrive. And the feminine self is a role model too, is a teacher too, but it just has this soft vibration, and also have a firm vibration from the gentleness that Simasa was talking about. The more soft energy, you can really support someone from that energy. So Shika, I see really with your question also, how can we really merge all this? I think we're doing it right now, and I love listening to all of us, like how we're doing it within our local environments with our specific experiences. It's really really powerful. For me, coming from the science world where everything was just so structured, coming in just in the feminine energy was a big rebellion, right? Where in other parts of the world it would not be, maybe, if they're more in the feminine energy. But we are just really really bringing that in, that is needed in whatever area of the world we are. So thank you. Wow, I love hearing your
Yes.
perspective.
I want Zimasa to share. She shared recently something about her mother thinking that menopause or depression is something that you buy from the shop and it's not supposed to happen to women. What was that about? I
Oh
just
yeah. Oh yeah. The
I
other day,
just want you to know her journey from
I
a
need
mother.
a refund. I need a refund. I didn't buy it.
So
because
I'll just focus on that because it just shows that um, how much they rejected the mental health issues and didn't even think that it happens to women in your country. And maybe then we can wrap it
Yeah.
up from there after
I
that.
was, I was having this conversation with my mother literally about 2 weeks ago. This is a story that I shared with Shika. And I said, Mom, my mom has had 4 kids. And I said, Mom, did you ever have postpartum depression? And she said, What's that? And you could hear that she was absolutely stunned. What's that? I said, so I tried to explain what it is, And she said to me, We didn't have that back then. I'm like, Mom, it's not something that you could go and buy from the shelves. The way she just said it, matter of fact, we didn't have it back then. And this just shows you, again, what kind of culture we come from, where you're supposed to be on the go. In her days, you would have a child on a Friday, Monday morning as a teacher, you're back at work. It's expected and acceptable. And depression was not a done thing, was not a known word. So if you suffer from depression, it is because you're just too lazy. There was no such thing. It was not recognized whatsoever. And this is the generational gap that I'm coming from with my mom. And then versus my daughters who think that if you're not acknowledging certain things, you're not politically correct, you're not this and that. And there's a lot of pressure coming from all ends to be able to accommodate my mom and her generation, because it's not just her. Everyone else her age that is around me, I have to accommodate. And then it's my kids and everyone around their ages that I have to accommodate. And I would like to encourage every woman to feel comfortable in not being one way. It's okay to feel pliable. It's okay to feel one way the 1 minute and and sit in a different way in the next minute, or from day to day. To allow yourself the ebb and the flow of your own energy and your own emotions, and to set those boundaries with people around you that they need to accept you as you are, as you changing continuously. Because I'm reliving my childhood through my kids' eyes. I'm still my mother's daughter and I'm still a child in that sense. Yet I still need to be an adult, a mother to my children. And I still need to be the fun person that I know I am in my own space, in my own mind, and just enjoy just being Zimasa without all these other attachments to everyone else. So I want to give everyone else the permission to actually feel like that about themselves, to feel that you can change from 1 minute to another, from one day to another. If you're not cast in stone, you're not set, you have not contracted to anyone to be one way for eternity. And yes, the journey itself is very interesting. Looking back at my mom, looking forward at my kids, and sometimes seeing my mom in me whenever I'm parenting my own children. It's been a very interesting journey. Yes, my mother didn't have depression. They didn't have that back then. They haven't developed that strategy yet.
Yeah.
It's a new thing.
That. And I loved, because in one of our earlier conversations, you were saying also that you not only are aware of all of these facets, but you're also mothering your mother in this awareness and education, and I do really relate to that. And this piece around mental health has been a theme today, and here in Australia, where October is Mental Health Month, and a lot of awareness around that with different organizations and things. But this piece around depression, a lot of the time, most of us go into a sense of denial. I'm not depressed, or I'm just not, and then we suppress our feelings, and we then sometimes just don't talk about, and then we shut down as women, as humans as well. We might also see our men, our partners, our sons, going through these big emotional pieces in whatever life may throw at us. And I know even with depression, when I experienced that through burnout, through anxiety, through also hormonal changes, when I was going through my miscarriages, and actually acknowledging that I was going through depression, that was a really big piece of awakening and acknowledgement. And even to share that with my own mother, her awareness of it was that I was loco. And in Filipino culture, the language loco means crazy. You're going crazy. And this piece around the feminine and our emotional bodies, and people, even when we have our periods and we have big emotional moments, people class us as crazy. And it's like, no, this is part of our emotional body and our experience. So it was interesting to meet that side of awareness in my relationship with my mother and myself at that time. And even in the recent miscarriage that I went through, my mother, in her intention of love and help and healing, she was worried that I was going to go down that path of depression and go crazy again. And so, even in my own growth and emotional resilience, in those pieces that I've gone through and sharing that with her, that I have felt these things and I am okay. There were these other parts of her that didn't want to actually accept that growth in my mental capabilities and my spiritual evolution to meet myself in that, because in my culture and my that Filipino culture, and I suppose many women, miscarriage means that there's something wrong with you, you know, and I am so fiercely anchored in that there's nothing wrong with me at all. It's just not the right time, and I've met myself, and that fear that I spoke about in this really beautiful sense of empowerment. That was my journey, and I feel like these pieces around mental health and well-being and the energy behind it in helping our mothers and our fathers and our family members understand that emotional bandwidth is a beautiful piece that we as mums now, as women now, as teachers now, as nurturers now, get to help the generations that brought us here, and for the children that are witnessing us be the bridge makers in that.
And I'd just really love to touch base with those people at home that are really going through it, just to recognize that there are other ways. Like we've heard from Charlene, like there are natural alternatives and different ways of healing. And sometimes it is recognizing that underlying trauma, the belief pattern that is instilled in us. I know when I was first diagnosed with depression and medicated, the meltdown was literally over a piece of fluff. It was a piece of fluff that was on the floor, and for whatever reason, I told myself it wasn't my job to do it every single time. Why did I have to clean up every single time? When was somebody going to recognize that bit of fluff? And I didn't know at the time that's what it was. It was just that was the trigger, and it was just like, nobody cares, and there's no point. Nobody notices or is here to help me. I can't do it, and that was enough. And the medication, like I was like, oh, cool. This is fantastic. I don't care about that bit of fluff. It stayed there for 3 months. I would walk past it and I would laugh. And it wasn't until I'd spoken to a friend and told her about my journey, and it's like, yeah, look, it's still there. And she's like, that's not depression. Like that's an underlying issue. And it was then that I had to look deeper at well, what wasn't I saying that led me to the point to repress all of my emotions that led me to complete darkness? And it was, I needed help, and I didn't know how to ask for it, and I didn't know how to express it. And my body just shut down and said, I can't do it anymore. And it could have been catastrophic. It could have got to a point that, bad stuff happened. And it was that conversation, and this is why, like Shika has been saying this whole time, story is so important. This is so important because it was that conversation that really highlighted the problem didn't go away. The trigger was still sitting there 3 months later. The emotional capability, yeah, that was fine. The medication does numb you really well, but the problem was still there. And it didn't matter how many tablets I took, I still looked at it and I still had that story and that narrative. And this is the energy work. It's not about the close. The close is how I explain my story. It's not about the role as the teacher. That's how it shaped the trauma that led to me repressing myself. These are the things that matter. This is the energetic recalibration. This is the coming back into self that allows me to ground and go, actually, I'm all of that and so much more. And wait until the right people are there to see it, because that's when change gets to happen. That's where the impact is made and the shift and the help gets to happen. And I found it. I've got a beautiful business partner here that is more than that. And we can have that in business. We can have that in friendships. We can have that in communities. When we know ourselves and we know that there's no fear, I can talk to Marie about really tough conversations. I can have an argument with her and tell her I don't like the way things are happening. And that can be met with such maturity that, okay, there is something deeper here. And knowing that if I'm getting triggered, well, that's me. And how do we work through this together? Because obviously we're both getting triggered in different ways, but there's a similarity. And it is so beautiful to be able to do that. And it's taken 46 years to be able to have conversations that are just so raw and so honest and know that it's going to be met with respect. And this is
Yeah.
what that energy work does, is really brings us back into us.
And just very beautifully. Um, Another thing that I'm not dealing with, but I'm thinking about these days is the wait for the right person, like the right person who understands you. That itself is a very unnerving thing, right? Yes, we're reclaiming ourselves. Yes, we are authentic, and then when we say we want to be authentic, and there will be a right person somewhere, who or a right community who will understand. That itself is also an unsettling thing that I realize. I stopped waiting for the right people. I am right. I'm who I am. I am vulnerable. I'm complete. I'm whole right now, right here, just the way I am. And I would be totally different tomorrow, but that would be complete, whole, just the way I am, however it is, you know. So, for many people who are listening, we are also still looking for validation, for that right community, for the right person, for somebody who will understand us. And once we've taken this journey to a point where our authentic self has risen, from there the next journey should be, the wait should stop for the right person, because then everybody becomes right around you, because you have no problems really with anybody's opinions, and try to validate what you're doing with anybody. And then you just sit there and you can just smile and you can say, well, you know this is what it is, this is how I feel about it, I'm complete, whole, absolutely authentic, just the way I'm feeling. So that's another unrest that I had for some time, when I was like, okay, fine, I'm authentic, but now I'm going to look for people who are just like me. Well, I became something else tomorrow, and then I changed again day after. How many people are we going to just keep looking for? So, complete whole in itself is another thing to reclaim our energy, which is the topic about today. Is going back and removing the cloud and the expectation and witnessing yourself in the brokenness, also feeling complete, you know, and not looking for validation outside is where we need to keep going back to, so that we can live a complete life. And when I'm broken, I can be completely broken and smile about it and say, I'm totally broken, I can't manage this, and not look for somebody who can say, yeah, I feel like you know you can just like sit there and just say, this is just so crazy, I just can't manage it, totally out of control situation right now, and you can feel complete even in that. So I love what you were saying, and extending it to people, because when I do these coaching programs with self-portrait and other people, they still sometimes they say, oh, this is just like our tribe, and I'm just like, oh well, it'll just change after 5 days of the photography workshop, because you'll become somebody else, and then you'll say, oh, I'm just like this tribe, and then you'll just tribe. So maneuver through people, while feeling complete in every sense, in every color and every shade. I think then we can totally, at the end of our life, say, "Oh, that was a great life, complete, done, and lived with all the shades and colors." So loved what you were saying. Just totally a beautiful conversation. This was a very, very amazing conversation of reclaiming energy, and all of us had our way of reclaiming it from our perspective. And yeah, the panels are very strong this time. I can see, really taking us through many places. So Marie can take over now. And
Well, before we do finish up, because we've still got a little bit more time, I'd love for each of us to share one beautiful strategy that you have used for yourself, that really anchors in that powerful, authentic, magnetic self, and just sharing that as advice for other women that are listening in who are wanting to reclaim their energy and to come back into that authentic, powerful self, in that feminine essence of the many selves that gets to just move through existence. So one strategy that I really came across in the work that I was doing, and the inner healing work, was to really allow, I suppose, coming into the nervous system. So breath work is one really powerful tool that, like, breath is life. We come into this earth being born and breathing. That first breath babies take to allow life force energy to come through them in this physical existence, like, breath is life. And so allowing ourselves to breathe deeper and slower, to slow down, because 70% of society breathes up here or breathes really fast because we're always on the go, and that's when anxiety comes in. And so allowing ourselves to just breathe more deeply into our diaphragm and anchor into just slowing down and starting with the breath. Even when you have really tough conversations with your children, with your partners, with parents, maybe work colleagues, and you're feeling yourself get emotional and the blood pumping and rising, can you just allow yourself to just breathe before you say anything, to then center your nervous system and allow the parasympathetic to just really come back into the prefrontal cortex and bring the science in to then make the next logical words come forward when you're feeling that heightened emotion, the feeling. The breath is so powerful. So that's my little tool and my little strategy. And grounding in nature as well. So I'd love whoever would like to jump in next with one beautiful strategy that helps you with your energy.
Um, you can,
All right,
Matilda,
then I'll
take
jump
it
in.
over.
I can share next if that's okay. Okay, thank you, Marie. Yeah, so what came up actually even before you asked is to talk about emotions just briefly. So, what are the emotions telling us? They are not there to disturb us or distract us or to harm us. They are really our strong inner compass. And of course, if we are overly cluttered, it's difficult to follow the inner compass. Our emotion tells us, are we in alignment or are we out of alignment? And that both goes for alignment in our thoughts. Is the story we're telling right now, is that supportive of us, or are we hurting ourselves with our stories, telling us that we won't succeed? That is of course out of alignment, so that won't feel good. Or are we making a choice of going in a direction that is in alignment or out of alignment? When we come in and let ourselves come back to our body, declutter, then it's a really extremely powerful compass. And my guides say it's the inner technology. It's created to be the way we find our way through the human experience. And I want to share that in my late 20s, just before my awakening, I had awakening after a car crash. Actually, in Sierra Leone, doing field work in my biology studies. At that time, I could not feel my intuition. People would ask me what feels right, and I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. I cannot feel it. I was overly cluttered within my body. And the awakening, it was like it happened because there couldn't be any more stuff down anymore. I think like Flea just shared, like when you just keep stuffing things down, it's just time to declutter. And when I was decluttered, my intuition came back as my strongest superpower. And now it's like my primary navigational tool in life. So I just wanted to share that.
And so, Matilda, with that decluttering and becoming emotionally intelligent, what's one strategy that anyone that's listening can do, like whether writing it down, or like what's one practical thing to become that aware with the emotions that are coming through?
Okay, I would say feel the emotion, focus within the body. So that would be like scanning the body, feeling where in my body can I feel anything now? How would I describe it? And it's not describing like unwanted, wanted. Is it like pressure? Is it like prickling? How does it feel like in terms of a sensation? And then move through the body, feeling all these things that is happening within the body. And I loved your guidance with the breath too. Those can definitely be combined.
Perfect. So, Masa, what's your tool, your strategy, your tip for those listening?
Just being on my own, just being my own best friend. I find that taking time out of society has helped me a lot over the years. I remember a time when my kids were quite small. You know this feeling your brain is very stifled coming back from the office, and then you get kids that are demanding your attention and. What I used to do very often and during that time was to drive straight to the nearest mall after working hours. When the malls closed down, I walk in, not just do any shopping, just to walk up and down the aisles, the mall aisles, just to unwind and just be present in my own body and to let my mind run until I run out of anything to think about. I still do it, going walks along the beach. And now that the girls are much older, I even have discos on my own. I go into my lounge, switch off the lights, put on my music, and I dance. And my girls know it's time that to leave mom alone. So it's not like I suppose it's a form of meditation in my way, but I'm just my own best friend. So just being on my own helps me wind down at the end of the day. And what I also discovered when, especially when the girls were younger, after preparing them for bed, though I never ever went to sleep within the first hour after they'd gone to sleep because then I wake up exhausted. Have time, just that 1 hour to not do anything, to just unwind for a little while before going to bed. That is my strategy. Doesn't cost a cent.
Beautiful. So simple, and movement is medicine. Beautiful, Flea.
I love all of these. Part of my training as a trauma-informed coach was really looking into the nervous regulation and energy regulation in our system. And as someone who has a dysregulated parasympathetic system, I go in and out of strategies. I find that sometimes breath work doesn't work for me because I lock my jaw and my tongue cannot be retracted to take that deep breath. So I actually have to go through and do it's like a pressure test type thing where you have to tense and release your muscles. And you start usually at your lowest point. So you've really got to tense your feet and then you relax. And then go to your ankles, relax, up the calves, relax. And you start working up your body to, one, it brings you into a really very static regulated state because you have to concentrate on that one particular movement in order to release and get that tension. So it's very quick and effective in drawing yourself into your body. And I notice that when I get to the emotional part, I can then go, okay, well, where is it? What is it? And that allows me to then, okay, now I can breathe and I'm safe and I'm calm. So for people that have had severe trauma, this is a really good way to do that. But also another strategy is having a routine that is just for you. I do self-talk at night. Like when I have my shower, I do a cold rinse. And in that cold rinse, I remind myself, once again, it's that regulation of the body, touching each part of how valuable every single part of my body is and what it's done for me. So, thank you for all the thoughts, the kind, the negative, the ones that remind me, all of that. Let's clear and wash that away. And as the cold water washes it away, it's one, you have to breathe because it's cold. And two, you're reminding your body of its humanity and that we are here and now. So these are just some really easy strategies, especially if you do suffer with depression or anxiety, to really bring you back into your body. And you can do it anywhere. Like if you're out at the shops and you're nervous, and it's like I do it before starting to speak. Even this morning, there was an energy that was so overwhelming. I thought, okay, I need to do something. So the movement and having a crystal or something like that, where that focus. I don't want to drop it, so I have to focus. I have to bring my attention to what I'm doing, otherwise I'll get clumsy and I'll drop it and break it. So anything that is an instant distractor that brings you back into physical touch is what I would recommend.
Beautiful. And that's great for children. All of these are great for our children as well as ourselves as women. And Shika, what's your beautiful advice or wisdom or something different for us to kind of support each other?
I mean, your shower thing is that definitely working. I have to, once my kids sleep, I straight away run to the shower. Like the minute they're off to sleep, I have to. It's cold, it's hot, it's just something that just releases, and you feel like you're cleansing a lot of energy. And also during that time, I pay attention and notice. And with noticing whatever comes up, I show curiosity towards it. Rather than feeling I did it well, I didn't do well. I try to take myself to the curious point that how did you come here? What is it that brought you to do what you did or what you thought and what you are? So take a shower. When you ease out, there'll be things coming up. Notice what's coming up, and when you notice, approach it with curiosity, and like make it a lifelong study rather than taking it too seriously after a point and thinking the life is just dismantling in I can't control anything and everything is off. So I'm able to do that regularly to say I'm curious, like even just saying it out loud to yourself. I'm curious, why am I feeling like this? Or I'm curious, what was that reaction that happened just 10 minutes before I took a shower? Why did I scare my child? Knowing it's one thing to know intellectually and emotionally, and then sometimes you watch yourself doing things that you don't want to do, but you do it. And I know scaring children, I am very gentle with children, I'm very pro, but sometimes one line comes in. Just a simple example, like I laughed at my husband yesterday because my son was down alone sitting and he wanted him to sleep. So all he said, oh, why didn't you come up? You're sitting all alone down. And I looked at him and I smiled. I said, you just want to scare him so that he comes up. You didn't have to use the word, you're sitting alone. He's like, no, I didn't do it. And then he smiled. But just sometimes you say things, like he's generally scared of being alone, but he was sitting alone. But sometimes just to make them do things, you use it, right? And then you're just like, oh, you know it, but you don't look here and there. And you're like, yeah, I didn't use that. I didn't do it. And that's the time you need to just like take a shower, go in and notice why did you do and manipulate it, because that was an easier way to do it. It's one of the examples. And just to notice and be curious and not say I'm a bad father, I'm a bad mother, that I did that, I knew he's scared of saying alone, I should have. And then later also I should have not said it, why did I do it and everything. And so we just smiled at each other. I'm like, you did it, just like let go and just be curious and not do it again. So I think that's the one thing we can do. Shower, notice, be curious, and stop blaming yourself for all the stuff that's going wrong. But live it fully, in
Yeah.
frustration, in its full emotion. Be frustrated and say I'm totally frustrated. Be broken and say I'm totally broken, and I can't handle this.
Mm.
So yeah.
It's powerful. Oh, all of these beautiful, juicy tips of just being your own best friend, your own best cheerleader, being emotionally aware, scanning your body, tapping and feeling into it, coming into the breath, and that curiosity, I feel, is so powerful. And, ladies, if you are listening in, if you are seeking help, ask a friend, ask a family member, go seek professional help as well. Go and speak to your doctor. There's no shame in talking to a psychologist or a counselor. Or all of these women here in this space are coaches, facilitators, mentors. You can come to any of us as well. And if we're not the right fit, we know other beautiful people that could support you. But the big key thing is, if you are feeling alone or feeling some of the challenges, ask for help. Go and talk to someone, seek medical help if needed, and discern for yourself. And this beautiful piece about communicating, I think, is really, really powerful, and that you are not alone. And when we communicate and when we ask and when we reach out, You'll be surprised at who is listening and who can assist and who can support if you are choosing that. So it has been such a pleasure, Matilda and Zamasa, for joining Shika, Felicia, and myself, and to end our beautiful summit today. We are back again tomorrow and Sunday for us in Australia, and we Saturday for some other amazing people for days 2 and days 3 of the Mum Summit. So appreciative to have you here. I know, Matilda, we just briefly spoke about how people can connect with you, but we might repeat it again in case we did cut out. So how can people connect with you, Matilda?
Through my website. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, it's been such a joy being here on this panel. So much fun. I really loved every moment. So if people want to connect with me, they can go to www.awakenwithmatilda.com, and they can also find my contact details in the freebie that is coming with this summit.
So beautiful. And Zamasa, how can beautiful people connect with you?
As well through my website. It is neverforlife.co.za, Zimasakala, or you can find me on Facebook or via my email address, zimasak@yahoo.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we will be sharing those links with our amazing Facebook and social connections. And folks, if you have love today, love this panel, please give us some love hearts. Share some of your key takeaways. And before we end, if you've stuck with us for this long, we are giving away some amazing prizes. And so, folks, our sponsors, the Enough Experience, which is linked with Beautiful Shika's workshop, the self-portrait workshops that Flea and I have engaged with, and some of the amazing other women in this space, but also with Rosie Batista, who has created a gorgeous, gorgeous oracle deck with those candid, beautiful photos that we've taken in Shika's course. And this beautiful oracle deck is aiming to have 100 women and their beautiful portraits, their vision, their mission, in an oracle deck to inspire. And so, folks, if you are sharing this beautiful summit on the socials, share it to Awæcnian, share it to Shika's Facebook. I'll add it into the chats after this, and also Rosie Batista's details. If you share it to 3 different places, you'll go in the draw to win one of these beautiful oracle decks. Thank you so much for popping your links in there. And and we're going to be announcing that on the last day of who our winner is for that. It's a stunning deck, so inspiring, and we are so blessed to have Rosie gifting one of those. So, folks, it's just sharing and tagging and celebrating each other. Let's be each other's cheerleaders, and it is a beautiful, beautiful gift to receive. So, thank you so much. And, folks, we are so looking forward to tomorrow. And, if you have been enjoying this summit and you're like, what else are these amazing women doing? This is not the last summit. We have a beautiful youth empowerment summit happening in November. So from the 16th to the 18th November, with one of our other beautiful past speakers and collaborator affiliates, Bronwyn Bergen from Star Kids Coaching. And here we're talking about conversations, dialogue with mums and women and family and communication energy. And we've been talking about youth today as well. So the beautiful youth summit is having conversations with our young people as well, with parents, with coaches, with adults that are listening, ready to hear their voices and support them and celebrate them. So I know Flea and I are super excited about November's summit. So you'll hear more about that tomorrow and on Sunday. But folks, you can tune in, register, sign up to be a part of that one now. That summit is pretty full, but any of you that are listening in, we would love for you to come and join us if you want to join us on a panel or present a beautiful half an hour session. And if you have young people that have a voice, that have a mission, and have a safe space to talk about what is on their hearts and minds, my goodness, we're so excited to meet them as well. So connect with us and you can find out more. Thanks, everybody. Any final thoughts, Flea?
No, I just wanted to let you know Matilda is already part of the Enough card deck that you were talking about. She's joined in. She's in there. So really excited to have you, Matilda, on the
Yeah.
Enough card deck. Rosie told me you signed up, and it's amazing to have you there. Amazing.
So beautiful. So beautiful. I love it. So, ladies, if you're listening, and you can join in too, come and connect with us, and you can win a deck, which is beautiful. Any other final thoughts, Flea?
Just a big thank you to all of those people that have participated today and those that are viewing. If there are any questions, if we have touched on something that is of interest to you, please reach out. At Awæcnian Academy, we promote all of these beautiful people. And like Marie said, we do know many different facilitators that can lead the way into this rediscovering yourself. So thank you to everyone participating today, and can't wait until tomorrow with everyone to join us. Thank you all so much.